C3, Connecting Coaches Cognition, Coaching with Courtney and Christensen. As a busy coach, you spend all day refueling, revamping, and reflecting with educators. Now's the time to stop and recharge your batteries with some much-needed coaching for the coach.
Welcome back to another episode of C3. I'm Courtney Groskin, and I'm here with
Violet Christensen.
Violet. What's new in your world?
Oh, it's just that springtime, wintertime Colorado madness, and we just always are enjoying. And it's just busy time at school and all of the things with the kiddos. But I am actually taking my own advice. Courtney, you will be proud of me for the first time in a long time. And my bestie and I are taking a 40th, very small getaway, but getaway with no children for just a couple days. And
How nice.
Taking a pause. Yeah, we had to work really hard to strategize with 2 families and 4 different kiddos and husband backup and grandma assistance and things. But we're gonna make it happen and go take a little getaway and get to relax and have time for ourselves. So I'm proud of implementing the pause we always talk about, at least in these coming weeks, and having something to look forward to always makes a big difference.
Totally. Good for you guys for planning that.
Yeah, we kind of had to push it in December and be like, this is really hard because we're also doing holidays, but we have to prioritize. So now that we've had all this time looking forward to it and it's coming to fruition here soon, it's really exciting. So, but what are you doing this spring? What is lighting your fire right now?
So I'm finishing up my first year of scripting cog coaching and going to start teaching it this spring. So it's been a process. It's longer than a master's program. It's really intense. I don't know if people realize how much goes into the actual training for cog coaching. So we'll see how this spring goes with teaching days 1 through 4. That'll wrap up in the fall, and then I'll teach 5 through 8 next spring. So it's definitely been a process, and I'm immersed in that cognitive coaching world and reading lots of articles and books and things to try to soak it all in.
You are amazing. What dedication. And it really is a load to take on in order to get to the end. And now that you're seeing the light and you get to put it into practice, how exciting. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, it's definitely been fun, but a journey at the same time. We'd like to welcome Leslie Ceballos. She's an accomplished educator and leader based in Dallas, Texas, currently in her 8th year as an assistant principal. She has served 4 years at Brentfield Elementary and Richardson ISD and 4 years at Boone Elementary and Allen ISD. Prior to her work as an assistant principal, Leslie was a district instructional specialist in Allen ISD, focusing on elementary science and instructional technology. She has also held roles as campus instructional coach and classroom teacher for 3rd and 6th grades, showcasing her deep expertise and passion for K-12 education. Beyond her school-based work, Leslie is a senior consultant with Learning Forward, the professional learning organization. Her consulting work centers on Learning Forward's mentor program and cycle, and she has collaborated with school districts across Texas, Kentucky, and even Guam to support educational leadership and teacher development. Leslie is currently co-authoring a book on mentoring new teachers, which she hopes to publish later this year. Welcome, Leslie.
Leslie, we are so excited and thrilled to have you here and be able to just share you with our listeners and lift your expertise in so many areas. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're going to dive right in, and we always want to catch up our listeners as to who you are and how you've gotten to where you are within education. So can you just share a little bit about your background with us?
Yes, I definitely can. So I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I've worked in 2 school districts here in the area. I started off in Richardson Independent School District. It's actually the 5th largest, most diverse district in Texas. Just a little fun fact. But I started teaching 3rd grade, self-contained, all subjects, jumped to 6th grade math and science, and then had the opportunity to move to another school within the same district as an instructional coach, a campus instructional coach for a few years. The running joke in my family was I was the job jumper for a while. So I did that for a few years and then had the opportunity to move to another school district that is actually 20 miles north of Dallas, Allen Independent School District, where I worked at the district office as the district technology instructional specialist, kindergarten through 12th grade. So worked in the middle school and the high school arena, which was a big jump from elementary, but good learning opportunity. Moved over in the same teaching and learning curriculum department to an elementary science instructional specialist for a few years, and then have took on my now longest role as an assistant principal. So I was an assistant principal at Boone Elementary in Allen School District for 4 years. And then I had an awesome opportunity to move back to Richardson ISD, which is my home school district, to my community school, where my kids actually go to school too. And I've been the assistant principal at Brentfield Elementary now for 4 years. And our school serves, 8 grade levels, pre-K 3, all the way through 6th grade. And assistant principal role has been the longest role that I've had, and I absolutely love it. So that's kind of my, call it K-12 education experience. I always like to share outside of K-12 education. I've done contract work for many different curriculum companies over the past several years. I've contracted with LearnZillion, Age of Learning, and Amplify. Currently contract work for Amplify. And then I also serve as a senior consultant for Learning Forward. This started probably, 8-ish years ago, where I was brought on for a project that we did with the Louisiana Department of Education. And I co-designed trainings and work now mostly with them in districts on mentoring programs and using our Learning Forward design mentoring program. So that's kind of just a little snippet about me.
Well, you certainly bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to the podcast, and we always appreciate that. And I'm sure your educators that you work with in your building also appreciate you having all that different experience.
Yes, I always like to say, they're like, "When do you sleep?" I'm like, "Well, if I'm not busy, I'm bored. So I have to stay busy, and I like having my foot in both roles where I stay in touch. I'm in that world of the day-to-day on a campus, day in, day out, but then also get to connect and work with educators around the country and get to apply everything in my own setting. So it's pretty neat.
Definitely. We're going to jump into your mentoring experience. Can you describe your approach to mentoring and how you tailor your support to meet their individual needs?
Yeah, so I kind of want to talk here about the mentoring program through Learning Forward that I've worked with mostly. In our program, our approach is really a learning cycle approach, and we kind of have 3 main components. Mentors are helping their diagnose a need for their mentee, and then they provide coaching support to help the mentee meet whatever that need is that they've identified. And then that final stage of monitoring progress, which is really just helping that mentee, reflect on the progress that they made in that cycle. And then kind of where we always start, and when we have these 2 bigger main components kind of in the middle of the visual, I wish I could show you the visual, I'll share it with you, is build relationships and communicate effectively. Because we know that if none of the growing or the impact on teacher practice or student learning is going to occur if the mentor and mentee don't have that strong relationship. So we really focus on we work with mentors how to establish that trust, how to build that trust, because the mentee really needs to believe that the mentor's only goal is to help them grow personally. There's nothing evaluative about their relationship. And then we talk about how when you have that relationship, then you can start using that learning cycle approach. But when you're doing all these things, you have to know how to communicate effectively with your mentee. And so you have to have skills such as, listening and paraphrasing, and how do you ask good questions, and how do you provide that effective feedback. So while we are working with mentors on how to work your way through this learning cycle approach, we also train them on the skills on how to really build strong relationships and communicate effectively with new teachers.
That deep level of trust is such the core of what can come out of that relationship and be able to help that teacher to be able to thrive in the future. So I just love starting with that relationship and rapport first, and then being able to build trust over time, and then being able to layer in beyond that. And you kind of alluded in some of those things of communication and just trust and rapport, but like, what are some other common challenges that new teachers might face, and how do you help them to navigate these obstacles in their early years and be able to help use their resources to find their best capacity?
Yeah. So this is where I really value that I live in both worlds, right? That I live in
Mhm.
the K-12 education world, and consult, because I feel like when I'm working with mentors or wherever, like I feel very in touch with reality. Like I know what our teachers are facing every day because I'm in it with them every day on our campus. And so I'd say some of the top challenges that I've heard recently from at least our new teachers on our campus, one is work-life balance and that time management, like how to get everything done without feeling like that I'm working all the time, or that I'm just giving my not least effort, it's not the right word, but like surface level time and attention to all the things because there's so much to do. Um, Another one that our teachers struggle with are like extreme behaviors. When the basic classroom management system doesn't work for certain students, what do I do as a new teacher? And we're seeing more and more of that coming out of COVID, and just totally different behaviors than we've seen um, in the past, previous 10 years. And then I'd say I thought about the third would be parent communication, something that they don't always necessarily teach you in your college prep programs. And how do I speak to parents? How do I come across knowledgeable? How do I um, craft a nicely written email, things like that. And so, and parents, they're a different breed these days too. I can say that because I'm one of them. So, um, so when I think about, I mean, that's just three of like 50, right? That our new teachers are struggling with. And so when I think about how we support them, and how we support them and how we retain these teachers, and we don't want them to burn out, especially in that first year, I'd say the number one help that I've seen is having that assigned mentor, having this person that they can go to, not just to vent, but yes, there's a time and place for that, but to help coach them through various situations, develop plans together, draft that email together. But someone to just like that go-to person. Even today, I was meeting with one of our new teachers, and she was telling me about how she, drafted something that she's going to send out to her parents, but she's going to have her partner teacher, who's her mentor, look it over before she sends it out. Like just having that go-to person is such a relief when you are having to communicate with parents. Um, I'd say another big support is um, having a good team, especially in elementary world, I'd say, and that's the world I live in, like having that collaborative team who plans together and sends emails together, makes copies together in the copy room, just makes a huge difference in morale and makes you feel like you're not alone in this really, really hard job, especially that first year hard job. Can I give you one more? I know I'm kind of, is that okay? And then one
Absolutely.
thing that we do on our campus that I think really helps is we schedule monthly mentor-mentee check-in meetings. And we schedule them, we do it monthly, and we schedule them like strategically in certain times of the year because we know when they're going to need it the most, because we are probably all very familiar with that really popular graph that the phases of a new teacher, and so we have these check-ins and we help them see that they are not alone in this work, and we talk through problems, or we talk through what's coming up if right before the first 9 weeks of the grades are due. And I'm stealing this quote from my co-AP. My co-AP this year is new. She was actually my lead mentor for the last several years, and I love her. And her name's Ashley Pondra. And her quote to our new teachers is always, and it's really honest, it's this job doesn't get easier, but you just get better, right? It's not going to get easier. Every year there's something new, but you just get better because you have more tools in your toolbox and more resources. So those are just some of the few.
I love that. It doesn't get easier. You just get better at, you're better equipped to handle all the things that education throws at you. And I appreciate you highlighting too, a lot of the things that our new teachers struggle with are things they aren't taught through their teacher prep program. You kind of have to walk through
Yep.
them to learn them. Earlier, you talked about, building rapport, and having that positive relationship. What are some tips, on how the mentors can foster that relationship with new teachers so that way they feel comfortable getting support and feedback from them?
Yeah, I always like to say, Courtney, I like to say, they didn't teach me this in principal school. That's kind of my go-to line, and it's the same for new teachers. So some things that we promote in our mentoring program, in our Learning Forward mentoring program, one of the biggest things we first talk about, like I said earlier, is establishing that strong and trusting relationship. And one of the tools that we work with our mentors on, who go through our program, are what are partnership agreements, and how do you develop them, and what information should be included in them, and why do they help establish that strong relationship in the beginning. It helps remind the mentee and the new teacher that this relationship is not evaluative. It really just sets the purpose of the relationship, and you can get really clear and granular about what our partnership is going to look like throughout the year, and how am I going to support you, and when are we going to text, or how are we going to communicate, and what is our focus going to be. And so we talk about how partnership agreements is a really good tool to help start off that relationship in a positive way. On our campus, we assign mentors really early on. As soon as we hire someone new, we want them to know who their mentor is going to be as soon as we can. When new teachers start on campus, we take them out to lunch that first week. We make sure that, they get the text group going right away. They each have each other's cell phones. We welcome new teachers with welcome baskets, with school swag, and you just want to make them feel like they are a part of a team, a part of a culture, and that this is going to be a great place to be, and make them feel welcome, and part of the team immediately. And as admin, as principal and assistant principals, we are part of those experiences too. We want them to feel comfortable coming to us when needed. So we are out to lunch with them. We run, their day when they come to campus, and they learn all the things, drinking through that fire hose kind of thing. But we as admin want to be part of that process, because it's so important for them to not only have their mentors, but feel comfortable coming to admin when needed as well. Our district mentoring program does that I really like is they provide the mentors checklists and kind of check-ins to do throughout the school year, and suggested topics during each month too. Again, kind of mimicking our monthly meetings, we try to make it connected. And so having those really strategic places in the year to make sure that we're not dropping the ball and like getting into February when we know we're all trying to like keep our head above water, and we're still making sure that we are there for our mentees. And I think just making it really clear to new teachers that their team and their mentor are there to support and help them. There are no dumb questions. We all want to see you succeed. Your success is our success. And allowing them to or helping them feel open to always asking questions, and always going to their mentor or their admin of what they need.
I love hearing you speak to the importance of just showing up every time and rolling out that red carpet and bringing the excitement to those new teachers, and also not sugarcoating of it, that it is hard, but you're going to get better. And that's always, an educator is constantly evolving and just trying to honor our best practices and refine and keep getting better, right? And so if you can have that synergy
Mhm.
between admin and educators and coaches, it's just what a beautiful place to be, right?
I had this teacher, one of our sixth grade teachers, this is her second year, and she came to my office yesterday and she shared with me that um, she's just feeling so much better about this year. That last year was so hard and she felt like she could barely keep her head above water, but that she this year her and her team are just really gelling, and she feels like she's really got this and planning's going well and she's not having to stay till 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And it was great to hear that, like, she has made it through that really, really hard first year, and because of her team and the collaboration with her teammates, she's able to come out on the other side of that.
That camaraderie can be so powerful. It's just beautiful. We want to drill in even a little bit further, Leslie, and tell us, we want to hear a little bit about observation and feedback, and how do you feel like those play into that mentoring process and being able to enhance instruction moving forward? And how do you ensure it's constructive and actionable while also kind to new teachers?
Yeah, and it's really hard, especially in that mentor-mentee relationship, right? Because mentors are classroom teachers too. And so they have to they have all the same responsibilities as a new teacher, and but we know that the most effective mentoring includes observation and feedback. And so that's why our learning forward mentor cycle is like rooted in that. It's what the cycle is all about. Um, so when we work through the cycle, we talk about how in that first phase of diagnose, the mentor is supposed to go into the mentee's classroom with an agreed upon focus and conduct kind of an initial non-evaluative observation to diagnose whatever that area of focus or every area of need is. Typically, in that first, 6 to 9 weeks, it's probably an area of classroom management, because that is, typical for a first year teacher. Um, and once they diagnose that need, they come up with a SMART goal together, the mentor and mentee, for that area of focus. And then that mentor, doesn't say, "Okay, good, you set your SMART goal, go work on it." But they're with them along the way. They are providing the support for the mentee to help them meet their goal. And that support can look different, again, based on the capacity that the mentor has and what the need is, right? It could look like co-planning. It could look like co-teaching or modeling. It could look like, I'm just going to provide you a resource or a video for you to go watch and see if you can mimic what you see in that video for the strategy that you're trying out. And then once that or supports, depending on if it's multiple times that we need, assistance, then that third phase is that monitor progress piece. They really need to determine if that goal has been met. And if so, awesome. Celebrate that, reflect on why that had that positive impact, and move on to another area of focus. If it didn't really stick and make the impact you're hoping for, let's see what other supports we can put in place before we, continue to move about the cycle. So like an example of this, I kind of started talking about classroom management. An example of this might be, during the observation, the mentor notices that the mentee doesn't really have like strong systems in place for like basic procedures in the classroom. How to ask to sharpen a pencil, how to ask to go to the bathroom, how to transition, basic procedures. And so maybe they set a SMART goal together to address it. And then maybe the mentor could provide ideas during co-planning or even models, teaching the students one of the new routines. How do you teach kids how to line up properly before moving to the next, classroom? So then maybe a few weeks later, the mentor observes again and sees the mentee implementing the new procedure. And then they reflect and determine, if the goal has been met or not. So you really try to make it, like y'all said, constructive and actionable, like to make it bite-sized. You want to make it attainable. That's why we use the SMART framework, to make it timely and to make it not such a big goal that it doesn't feel attainable, but it needs to, so that mentee can feel that success in a timely manner.
Yeah, we know how powerful it is to have someone come into your classroom and be that other set of eyes. We're doing so much when delivering instruction that it's hard
Yes.
to see what may be some small tweaks that can make big changes, especially at the beginning of the year with that classroom management piece.
Exactly.
And that wealth of experience that those mentors bring of, hey, why don't you try this? Or what would it look like if students did this? I'm sure you have a ton of stories, but does one come to mind about success where mentorship made a big impact on a mentee?
Yeah, I wanted to share two quick ones, if that's okay. Kind of from that consultant perspective, and one from my campus perspective. Just as a consultant, working with when I had the opportunity to work with the mentors across the state of Louisiana, that was pretty fantastic. I mean, these educators were so dedicated. They were all about just how do we retain and keep these new generation teachers. And so they were so into our trainings. They were eating everything up. They wanted to implement the cycle, the learning cycle with the observation and with the feedback and the reflection. They wanted to implement it to a T. And so we would meet with them periodically. We started with 4 sessions in the summer, and then we got to see them again in October for a few days, and then again in February. And so every time we got to come back, they would share these success stories of the impact that the program had on their mentoring and the mentoring had on their teachers. They shared how the partnership agreements are like, it really works. We also talk about growth mindset a lot, and that really opened up not only the mentor's eyes, but the new teacher's eyes to just trying new things. And being willing to take risks and be vulnerable with their mentor. So hearing all of those stories really felt like a win for us presenters, because, if you come in from this kind of outside, who are you coming in here to tell me about this topic? They can take it or leave it, but they were really implementing it. And it was awesome to hear those success stories from them. My other quick story is last year we had a 0-year teacher start in 6th grade, different 6th grade teacher than the one I was just talking about earlier. Teaching is a second career for her. And so she's going through alternate certification right now. While she was teaching, we kind of threw her into a 6th grade classroom, and it was a hard group. We hired her telling her this is going to be a hard group. And the content was hard. She's teaching 6th grade science and social studies, and that content is hard. I just really tried to I was not her official mentor, but I was the admin that worked with her most closely. And I just tried to really be there for her throughout the year from that administrative role. I did her observation, I think around maybe December or January, and she did amazing. I mean, I learned a lot about social studies in that class that day, but she did awesome. And I really wanted to highlight that moment for her because the year had been so tough. The parents really gave her a hard time, and this was such a high point in her year. But the whole year was tough. And I say all this because at the end of last year, we had the opportunity to move her down to 2nd grade, which was probably going to be more her jam, her personality, and all of that. And so she's been in 2nd grade this year, and she is doing incredible. Her confidence is soaring. She's putting what she learned from that first year in 6th grade into practice in the 2nd grade setting, and just kind of making those adjustments as needed. But her confidence has grown. And you can just tell she is in a really good place, and she's about to finish her alt cert program this year. And so just really lucky that we have her on our campus.
Those moments of like increased efficacy, and when you can see it just radiating from an educator, it just like really brings you back to your purpose of coaching and supporting and being able to be there for the people on your campus or the people in your world, wherever that might be. And so we so appreciate you sharing so many amazing sentiments with us and with our listeners. And I know they're excited to dive in more with you. So we're going to shift slightly to the rapid fire questions. So in roughly 30 seconds or less, tell them, where can they find you? Like, where can they follow you and be able to catch up with you?
Yeah. So my, I still call it Twitter. I'm not with it yet, but on X, is where I kind of post and do all things education. And my handle is at LD Hirsch with no C, HIRSH. And then through Learning Forward, consulting services. So, just a little quick plug. I have now co-wrote, or in the process of co-writing, a book on mentoring based on the trainings that we developed for Learning Forward. It's hopefully going to come out this spring, if not spring, but definitely in 2025. It's called Mentoring New Teachers, a Learning Cycle Approach. And everyone can go to learningforward.org and click on the website's bookstore. There's going to be very soon a sign up to get notified, a notification when the book is released. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. First book.
So exciting. First podcast, first book. Oh my
I
gosh.
know.
We're just excited on the ride with you, and share at least another little sentiment with of what does coaching means to you? Like what is the core of coaching to you?
I think at the core, it's a way to scale your impact, to scale my impact, a way to impact more students through educators. I really believe that everyone needs a coach. Like you should, an educator should never be too good or too much of an expert to say I don't need coaching. I think everyone needs to have an openness and a willingness to say, like, I don't know everything, and I can always improve, and I can always do better. And having a coach to talk things through with and be that thought partner with, I think is an amazing way to continue to grow.
Well, you were meant to find us because we always say every coach needs a coach. So you just said that in your own way. And we appreciate that, just like showing up again in your rapid fire. I feel like that is one of our things that just keeps cycling back. And it's just a wonderful reminder every time it comes every month that we get to share with our listeners. But in that sentiment of coaching and appreciating that, what is the question that you rely on the most?
I have lots of people in this role as AP, assistant principal. I have lots of people who come to me with a lot of issues at once. Where they just kind of rapid fire and like, I have this and this and this issue and this issue. And so lately, at least, my go-to has been, and I kind of say it in different ways. Sometimes I'll say, if you could fix one thing about this situation, what would it be? Or sometimes I'll say, like, if you could wave a magic wand and it could fix the hardest part of the situation, what would that part be? Sometimes I'll phrase it as, like, in a perfect world, what would this look like? So I can see the solution, or not the solution, but like what do they want it to be? And then I can start to use other coaching questions to help get them to that part. So that's kind of been my go-to lately.
It's powerful when you understand their desired state, so we can think about the current reality and how we can build that bridge to get there through questioning and reflection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have just been amazing, and we are so glad to have you as part of our PLN, and we hope we get to keep working with you in the future, Leslie. But tell us, is there anything? Well, you just reach out. We love just adding to the network and having more amazing people like you. And so thank you for being here today, number one. And number two, tell us, is there anything that you haven't shared that you want to share with our listeners?
I don't think so. I would just say kudos to everyone who is working in this business that we call education. It is really hard, and there are hard days, but we also know there are very rewarding days, which hopefully makes up for those harder days, because what we do is important and it impacts kids, which impacts future. And I just think it's one of the most rewarding professions someone can be in. So, and thank you guys for highlighting these types of topics, because it's super important.
Well, thank you for honoring our new teachers and lifting them up and finding new ways to be able to support them. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
We appreciate Leslie sharing her wealth of knowledge on mentoring. Our new teachers are so valuable and important to public education. How might you support your new teachers? What shifts can you make in your practice after listening to Leslie's episode? Thanks for listening to another episode of C3. Be sure to follow us on social media. C3. Connecting, coaches, cognition. Whose thinking will you mediate today?